In the previous video we got to the point whereby we had our GitHub Windows client installed, as well as the Git Bash terminal. In this video we're going to look at actually using the Windows client to actually create a repository, upload the files to the GitHub server, and then downloading them again, deleting our local copy, and then downloading those uploaded files again so that we can work on them again. There is a lot of new terminology which you will encounter when using GitHub. And so in this video I'm going to just go through the entire process so that you can see what it looks like. And then in the next video we'll break the entire process down and talk a little bit about each of the steps. So the first thing that we're going to do is to create a new repository. If you click on the plus arrow on the top left and select create, we can go ahead and create a new folder, and its path locally is going to be the path that we specified when we were setting up the settings. So we're going to type a name here, GitHub test. And the first thing that you're going to notice is that it's going to give you a warning message to tell you that the space is going to be replaced by a dash. And so just for consistency we can replace that space in our actual name itself. For now all of these settings can stay the same, and we just need to click on create repository. If we navigate across to this folder in Windows Explorer, we can see that it's created the folder for us called GitHub test, and it's also created this file called git attributes. This just contains some information about the type of project that is likely going to be encountered. For now we can just ignore this. What we can do, however, is to create a new file of our own. So in this case we're just going to create a new text document. I'm just going to call it readme.txt. This will be the readme. If we save that and close it, and go back across to our GitHub client, we can see that we now have this uncommitted changes drop down. If we click show, this is going to show us our files that we've added on the right. So in this case we've only added one file, which we've called readme.txt, and it also shows the difference between the previous version and this new version. In this case there is no difference because it's a completely new file. To the left here it's asking us for a summary and a description of the changes, and this is where you would actually describe what it is that you've done in this change. So for this example we can say that we've created the readme file. The summary itself is not optional, but the description is. If you want to add a description, you can of course add as much detail as you want here. But one piece of advice is that it's not often a very good idea to add too much detail, because oftentimes the descriptions are ignored. You can obviously get enough information from the summary here about what's happening here that you wouldn't normally need to go into the description to determine exactly what's happened. When you're happy with this commit, you can click commit to master, and that will save your changes for you. We'll talk about commits in more detail later on, but for now all you really need to know is the fact that this is almost a unique save point. This is a similar idea to saving all of the files in the folder in a zip file called version 1. We can of course go back to our file and make more changes. So we can add a full stop under capital letter and save that. And then if we go back across to our Git client, we can see that we've got uncommitted changes again. And this time it's showing us the difference. So this line has been changed into this line. We can of course create a new save point here, or a new commit. And again, the summary only needs to be very simple. So in this case we've corrected the grammar, and then we can commit that to master again. As I say, we'll talk about commits in more detail later, but as I say, these are almost unique individual save points, and if we decided that actually we didn't like this commit later on, we could revert to the previous version. But for now we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to push all of these changes up to the server. At the moment, all of these changes are just recorded in this local file, which is stored on our computer. But as I mentioned in the opening video, one of the biggest strengths of GitHub is the fact that GitHub allows you to back up all of your files onto a remote server. And so once we're happy with these, we can click on Publish Repository. If we want to, we can add a description here again, which I'm not going to do because I'm going to delete this later on. And if you want to, you could of course adjust these settings. GitHub by default shares all of your projects publicly. And if you wanted to make your repositories private so that other people cannot find them, you would need to pay for an upgrade to the micro plan at least, which is currently $7 per month. But for now we're just going to publish this to the repository. So now that that's complete, if we head back over to the website and refresh our page and go across to the repositories, we can see that the repository has actually been shared, and this includes our readme file. And if we look at the commits, we can see that we have the same commits as we had in our GitHub client. So for example, we had add git attributes, created the readme file, and corrected grammar, all of which are visible on our shared repository. Now eventually you're going to get to a point whereby you don't want to carry on working on this project anymore. For example, if the project reaches a point whereby it's considered complete. And so when that point is reached, you can simply click on remove by right clicking on the repository, and that will remove it from the GitHub client. That doesn't however remove the actual files from your computer, but you can of course go ahead and delete them without any problems arising later on, because all of the files are now backed up on the GitHub server. If we decide later on that we want to add some more features to that project that we were working on, we can go back across to the plus sign and click on clone this time. And this is going to give you a list of all of the repositories currently stored on GitHub. So if we select GitHub test, which was the file that we were working on, and click on clone GitHub test, that's going to ask you to select the location on your computer, and then it's going to download all of those files again for you. And your project's now going to be in the exact same condition as it was before you uploaded it to GitHub. So if you do accidentally delete files, or if you delete the entire project, it is backed up and it is very easy to download again. So in this video we've gone through a basic workflow of using GitHub, which includes commits and then publishing all of your commits up to the GitHub server. We've then downloaded those changes again after we've deleted our local copy of the project, and confirmed that all of the changes that we did upload before deleting our local copy of the project are maintained, so that our project is in the exact same state as we left it. In the next video I'm going to go through each of the individual steps that we've gone through here, and adding some more context to each individual step that we've gone through. So make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss that.